Welcome to another video about the translation project. In this video I will go over the additions folder, which I already kinda talked about in the previous one. I will try to explain which files are responsible for what, but I will skip those which I don't know anything about and only vaguely talk about a few files, what they could be used for. Let's start with the system folder. So the first file would be the change material file. It's basically handles the change material skill for genetics, but as far as I know, it's not supported by either NARP or WARP, NEMO or WARP to change the original path. The next one would be the check attendance file, which, like the name states already, is responsible for the attendance feature. In it, you change the visual display of the items, which will be rewarded on each login. The rewards themselves are being handled via the server itself. The monster size effect file is, as far as I know, responsible for the green aura of MVPs and other size related displays. Then the private airplane is pretty much what you use in the navigation. Via the navigation feature, if, like example, I type in isloot, select isloot, and I can click on here, then I have two requirements which can be changed in the file itself, which I will show in a minute. To use either of them. So either World Tour ticket by default or Silver Rhine Cat Fruit, which are both renewal items, but like mentioned, can be changed. This is this file. So in the end, it's for the should open it. So about the items, it's near the end, and then near the item table. Item ID and then the IGS name from the server database. The two tables at the start, I'm not sure myself, but I guess it's where you can use the future from and where you will end up with in the next table and they will map. So you can teleport between those maps. So then I will go on the pet evolution. It's pretty much for the pet evolution, like the name says. How it works is pretty simple, I guess. You need this intern function first to copy, then you have the pet ID to evolve, and then the results are then the evolved pet basically, and afterwards are the item ID and the amount for it. And you can copy that over. So each item needs a new entry basically. Then there's also auto feeding, which is also just a pet ID for what auto feeding will be enabled. Then the last file in here would be my custom sign data CLS, so for the custom Lua support, but it's outside of the protection from the custom Lua support itself, which requires a client patch. The custom Lua support I will go over with the next video, which covers the add-ons folder directly. But it works just like the normal signboard list, but it allows you to touch or to add custom signboards outside the original files. But to being able to read this file, you need to do some different change in the normal translation folder. In system, you have here the signed data en file, which is for the translated strings, and at the end of it there is this part for the custom signboards. It also explained in here. So you have pretty much removed the 2-, which is a comment in Lua in code language, and save it, and then this file will be read. So this one. Then you have your custom signboards. Then I will go back to the additions folder. Then the next folder, the rune folder, is basically a feature for 2023 clients. I think the March version up to starting with March, as far as I know, are not supported by NEMO or WARP either. Then let's go over to the difficult part, the data folder itself. First I will cover the map files. These files are mostly for legacy purposes in case you receive an RSW error. I'm gonna show you. It's easier. Like currently I'm gonna take the Cafenia, which is the most common ones, or the first ones in this error happened to appear. I will go over to it real quick. Like this one, the unsupported version for the word res, 3D word res. Since I use a 2018 June client, which already is not supported for this map anymore, or doesn't support this map anymore, you need older map files, because now it crashes the client, and unless the char is stuck there, then you need to reset its position via either a control panel or deleting the last save point in the SQL table, or of course use this map file to fix this issue permanently. So now I can log back in since I copied the file over, and I can join back in on it. Now it works as intended. Let's go back to them. So then the next thing, so that's what this legacy or those files in general are for. There are also other files like the 2012 RVC, which are the championship maps pretty much from those from these years. And there's also other files, other maps like the Boring C1, which are for some reason was removed. And then the next one would be the text files in general. I sorted it already in pre because it's a pain in the ass otherwise. I will start with the book item name table txt, which is basically responsible for the book items to display two icons in the item description to open the book UI. So basically, like the the Slim Potion creation guide. You can see here those two icons you can interact with, which opens this one there. This UI is opened, or the content of it is done via the data/book folder with the item ID from the book itself. Like you can see here, item ID and then a hash, and then the client knows that has extra content to read from, to access. So then the next one would be the card item name table. That's pretty much the same as for the book, but in cards, which handles the compound window pretty much, and as well, and I think also the button to display the illustration. So then the next thing with the card postfix name table. This is responsible to declare if a prefix, which is handled in another file, to display the prefixes either at the top, where is it? At the beginning or at the end. Like a prefix would be at the beginning and the postfix is at the end. Like this ID and this card is has the prefix added at the end. That's why it needs a postfix entry, so entry in the postfix table file, which is only the card ID and the hash per line. Otherwise, it will appear at the beginning, like this file. This is a prefix. So then the next one would be the illustration file itself for cards. This is the num2 card illust name table. Basically the same way to do it. Item ID or card ID, and then the file name of the illustration. Illustrations for your cards. Then let's go with the exception minimap name table. Like the name says, it tells the client for maps when there doesn't exist a minimap to ignore looking for it for minimap. So there will be nothing on the top right corner. Then the fog parameter table is a bit more complicated as far as I've seen. It's just for some simple effects on the map, just like in Frontera. Oh, this one. It's a repeated animation pretty much, and it's kind of loops through it. But setting that up is a bit more wild, I guess. Good for the mapper guys, which are doing some stuff like this. So then the indoor RSW table is responsible, or it forces the camera angle for indoor maps to be from the side, like every insides, like the refine. If you know what I mean, or the Nameless Island dungeon, so Abyss dungeon, Abbey dungeon, sorry. So you can't change the camera to how you like it. Then the item move info version 5 is only to visual aspect to display what item can be dropped or traded and so on. The direct setting is done via the server database. The level use skill SP amount file is not used anymore as far as I guess, since it's the new Lua file skill info list.lup. The maneuver is pretty much for your chat filter to ignore or to filter out insults and other stuff you don't want to have in your game or on your server, pretty much. Then next, those three files I'm not go over because I don't know anything about it, especially these two. Then the next interesting one would be the MP3 name table, which handles the background music for your maps. Also simple setup, map name, and then the MP3 file. Just follow the paths in here and you're good to go. Or the layout. So then the rest name table would be is also interesting because it allows you to duplicate maps for the client side at least, but you still need to update your map cache from on your server, respectively. That's different from instance maps. That's handled completely different. So then last one would be, well, the viewpoint table is also a file I don't know anything about, so I'm gonna skip it. Then let's go over to the luafiles folder. The luafiles, I will go with the item db name table. This file is important if you want to use the enchant list and item reform system. Any entry in either of those files, which is not declared as well in this file, will result in a lure error. Basically, if you have an item you want to enchant, but it's not in this table, you get an error that it's not declared in here. If you use this file by default, you have here the translated error pretty much, which also tells you the same thing. So, and like mentioned, it's important for enchant lists and item reform system. I think there's another one which I think is related to it, but I'm not certain about it, and I also forgot which it was. Then let's go into the data info folder, which is also the most common you want to do changes in. The accessory ID and the egg name are the files you use for your custom headgears and costume headgears. It's basically simple setup. One is for the ID, so the view ID on your server, or class num ID or value in your item info. They have to match with the entry in here. The ACNAME file is for the resource file name, so what file it should look for to display your headgears correctly. This file, the ACNAME English, it can be ignored. That's pretty old. It's not been changed since years. Then the change directory list is, as far as I have understood this file, you can move and you can redirect files to a different folder than they used to be. Like they use it for the font files. I think they used to be in the data folder, but now they are in the system font folder. Like example, if there's more to it, I'm not too sure. The enumvar log file is in connection with the at random option name table file in the same directory, which handles the, like the name says, the random options. Like in Hitker's example, ID, and the other one is for the translation, translated strings, pretty much what you see in my. So basically these ones. One has an ID and then the text to it. Then we have the job identity is for the NPC and job IDs. Then the job name file redirects the ID from either job identity or NPC identity to the respective resource file. The NPC identity file holds the mob ID pretty much. So to add an NPC, no, to add mob, you need both entries, one in shop identity and one in NPC identity. Might be, I forget that always, I mix it up. Just open my document site and you have here under guides, customizations, and you will see how it works. I always mix that up, so, but it's different matter. Shadow, I don't know about the NPC location radius either. The shadow table is defines the shadow values for mobs, NPC, and jobs. So how much shadow they display. And then the sprite robe ID is for your custom garments or robes, however you want to name it. The ID and the robe, the name one is like above the resource file again. Then the cache shop banner is pretty much to display banners in your cache shop, with it being clickable to websites if you want to. And the weapon table holds everything related to weapons, like the weapon types at the beginning, and if you have some special animations for it, you can also define a custom, pretty much a new view ID or class name ID, like in Hitgears, in here to make it look for different animations, just like the Mighty Staff, as example, or the Arc has separate view animations or looks. That's what this is first to pinpoint it. Down below you also have to declare what weapon your own view ID and then your custom animation is. So your custom weapon is like the Arc is a rod type, so it displays the effects, so the attacking effects for it. And here is the wave, the sound effects for them. And if you have a custom bow, you also have to add them here for the animations for arrows. So for shooting the arrows. Then let's go over the head effect. Well, the head effect info is kind of also complicated, but it's responsible for the head effects, which will still be displayed even if you have effects off. Most values though are self-explanatory, but I'm not sure about the head effect ID argument itself, where it points to or how it's used. Then we have the skill effect info. It's responsible for skill effects. Most basic ones are hard-coded into the client, so not all effects are listed in those files. Skill info is related to the skill descriptions, skill IDs themselves, and the skill tree. And of course the job inherit list, to like from normal Crusader to Paladin to inherit the previous skills, like you should know by now already. Then the state icons is just for this status icons, like buff icons and debuff icons, to so the ID in here, the image, so the TGA files, I think they are, what file it uses to display, and then we have the description for it, for the effects themselves, for the status. Then we have the styling shop info, pretty much the styling shop UI with its details like what cost and what kind of head styles, body palettes, and so on. That's pretty much a stylist in UI form, pretty much. Then the transport item is handles some additional rendering for your custom garments and robes, which makes them appear in the character selection. So if your don't robes appear there, you're missing an entry in this with its ID. Just copy the values in there, exchange the first value to the new robe ID, and it should work by default normally. So last but not least would be the world view data folder. This handles the data regarding the world map, like the like this file, like these entries and stuff, like the translation. Most files in there. Most are already in the translation project itself, but if you want to add custom ones, you need additional files to redirect themselves each time. So then I think that was everything regarding the additions folder. If you have any more questions about it, other than files I know about, then you can pair me on Discord or ask in the Discord server. In the next video, I will go over the add-ons folder and so on. Go each by one, and the last one will be my custom Lua support because it takes a bit longer to explain.